I mentioned in a recent demo that the standard deviation of the residuals, which serve as proxy for earnings management, alone as a number does not mean anything unless it is compared with another. There are many ways in which we can do a comparison. One is to look for a periodic trend. An example of this is found in the video regarding an event study. Another option is to compare standard deviation by groups or portfolios, and this is what we are demonstrating in this video. In this example, we have 111 firms with 9 years of data, and year 1 is for the lag data. Just like in the previous videos, we have net income, but this time it is represented by the earnings before extraordinary items. We also have cash flow from operations, gross revenues, receivables, assets, and property, plant, and equipment. Notice also that we have an additional variable called EPS, or earnings per share. That is because our goal in this example is to know whether earnings per share varies with earnings management in the year 9. That is, do firms with higher standard deviation of the residuals have higher earnings per share? Or is it the opposite? In other words, is there a trend in year 9? We compute the same variables specified in a model by first determining total accruals, lagged values of assets, revenues, and receivables, the delta or change in the revenues and receivables. Then finally, we get the scaled values of total accruals, the value 1, the difference between the changes in revenues and receivables, scaled property, plant, and equipment, and the return on assets. If you want to know how we got these variables, please review the introductory video for the modified Jones model. Then we run a linear regression using the variables. You can also find in the previous tutorial the steps in regressing the variables. After executing the regression, the output tables will pop out. As you can see, the R squared is only 26%, but this is very common in accounting research. We can find that the F-test shows significance of the model, and the individual coefficient except the first one are statistically significant. Back to the data, a new column was automatically added. If you do not see this, then you might have forgotten to save the unstandardized residuals when you were in the regression dialog box. Now, we can compute the standard deviation values. From Analyze, point to Compare Means, then click Means. We need to put firms into portfolios based on the standard deviation of the residuals. Therefore, we need the standard deviation for each firm. So we select the firm identifier and move it to the independent list. We move the unstandardized residuals to the dependent list. Click Options and make sure that the standard deviation is selected. Click Continue, then OK. Now what you will see in the output window is a table of standard deviations for each firm. Copy this. Paste the data into a new Excel file. Format the data so we can import it to SPSS later on. For now, leave Excel and move back to SPSS. Remember that we only need the trends in year 9, so we only need earnings per share data in year 9. To achieve this, we need to filter the data. Go to Data menu, select Cases, click the If button under Select If condition is satisfied, then type in the box year equals 9. Click Continue. Under Output, click on the Copy selected cases to a new dataset, then type a name for it, then click OK. Now a new dataset will appear and check that only cases for year 9 are present. Look for the EPS column. And copy the column header to copy all year 9 earnings per share data. Go back to your spreadsheet and paste the EPS data. Make sure to leave a space for the variable name. Now we are going to bring these three columns back to a new SPSS data, either by the open data function or a simple copy and paste. This may look a very long process, but we do it to avoid confusion by reducing the columns of data that we previously had. Your new data set should look like this. Just to recap, we want to group the firm based on their level of abnormal accruals. That means that firms with lowest standard deviation should go to a single group, the average levels go to another group, and the highest go to another. We want 5 groups in this example. There are 2 options we can use to categorize the firm based on another variable. One is by visual binning. Go to Transform, then select Visual Binning. Select the variables you want to use as basis for grouping. With abnormal accruals, we need the standard deviation of the residuals. Click Continue. Type a new name for the new categorical variable. I will name it Portfolio. Click the Make Cut Points button. Then select Fix Percentiles based on scanned cases. We want 5 portfolios, so we need to slice the distribution 4 times. Click Apply. Now we have 5 bins. Click OK, and you will see a new variable added. You check that each firm is assigned a number from 1 to 5, 1 with the lowest standard deviations. The other option is to use rank cases. Again, go to Transform, then select Rank Cases. We want to rank our firms based on their standard deviation of the residuals. So select Rank Types, uncheck Rank, and select Entiles. Entiles ask you, how many groups do you want? We need 5, so we type 5. Click Continue. The default here is to assign the number 1 to the smallest values. This is exactly what we need to simulate the results created by the visual binning procedure. Now click OK. Check the newly added variable and see that the new categories are the same with the portfolio variable. Okay, final step. We bring in earnings per share, go to Analyze, compare means. Select any of the 2 variables since they are just the same, and move it to the independent list. Move our EPS to the dependent list. Select Options, then make sure Means is moved to the big box in here. We also want the ANOVA to test the differences. Click Continue, click OK. In this output table, we see the mean EPS of each portfolio. It turns out that Portfolio 1 has the highest mean. Remember that Portfolio 1 has the lowest abnormal accruals, and there appears to be a trend. The higher the abnormal accruals, the lower the EPS. But according to our F-test, the difference is not significant. Note that there are many other modifications that we can do with this kind of platform. In the next video, we try another comparison, this time with an event study.